shuffle the hat stuff?
I did.
Did they? Now, Matt, how can we tell yours apart from the rest of them?
They're the giant pieces of
They're
paper.
the big ones?
Yeah.
Yours is bigger than ours?
I was thinking of, ease of read, so I just kept making the font bigger. I was like, because I got a whole page. I was like, well, I want to use the whole page.
He's respecting our elderly eyeballs.
I mean, I did increase my font too, but not apparently to the size that Matt did.
I don't have them with me, but I got new reading glasses this past 2 weeks.
Welcome to old age.
They are reading with a 1.5x magnification and blue light filtering glasses.
So when I got my contacts the first time, because I was always a guy that wore glasses, and then when I was reading, I would take off my glasses. And I got my contacts, and I went in and got home. I'm like, I can't read a thing. So I called my optometrist. He's like, well, come back down. So I go back down, and which they should test that. I mean, most of them do, but he didn't for whatever reason. And he's like, he looks at me and goes, I can only fix one of your problems, not both. So he's like, here's a pair of reading glasses. Like,
That's what you want to hear from a doctor. Like, hey, man, you got multiple problems. I can do like two of them.
I'd have been like, both? You only think I have two?
yeah, when you get into about your mid-40s and you go to the regular doctor, and you're like, oh, my knee hurts.
Right.
The doctor's like, you're 45. What do you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the doctors just give up trying to treat you, they're like, that's just part of being old.
At some point, I should probably get a doctor. I mean, we have good insurance now. At some point, we should probably find a physician and, a dentist and all those things that you're supposed to do that we just don't do.
I've got to get to the dentist. COVID kind of racked my dental plans.
Yeah. No, dude, I haven't been to a doctor. Like, this is terrible. Like, don't take my advice, kids. Don't be like me. I haven't been to the doctor regularly in probably 10 years, 15 years.
I didn't start going until I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
And that's just because of when you turn 40, you get a free disease.
Right.
It's just part of being in your 40s.
Part of the consolation
Here's your
prize.
free disease that you now have to see the doctor with all the time.
Well, I don't like the doctor because all they do is tell you bad news. It's not shit I want to hear, so I avoid them like a plague. The last time I saw a doctor that wasn't for like a booster shot or COVID or like a COVID shot or anything like that was when I went there because I couldn't breathe and I found out I had pneumonia. And I was about to die.
That's because you waited to go to the doctor till you couldn't breathe instead of when you had just a
no.
minor
That's
cold.
because the people around me waited till I couldn't breathe to make me go to the doctor. I blame them.
Their fault.
They failed to take appropriate action.
Fair.
I quit smoking. What more do they want? What more do they want from me? Well, hey, everybody, this is episode 205 of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, and this will cure what ails you. If you don't go to a doctor like I haven't gone to, listen to this podcast. It'll make you feel great.
This podcast will not cure your
Yes,
ailments.
do not take that advice.
Yes.
Hey, look,
please go see a doctor
if
if
this
you
is
have
how
an
we
issue.
become internet rich, we market ourselves as homeopathic cures via
No, we are
sound.
not going to do that.
You just, you rub a crystal on your dick and you pray to a tree and you listen to this podcast and you won't.
I mean, if
that
you want to
doesn't
rub,
work,
if
believe
you
me.
want to rub a crystal on your dick and pray to a tree, that's your business.
That's
I'm
a
not-
crystal, not crystal.
Right.
Yeah, a
Let's see.
crystal. Yeah, let's be clear there.
It is Arkansas.
Do they call it crystal still?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean,
If it's quality.
it's one of the things they call it. I think they call it ice now more than anything.
That's
yeah.
the
Shards.
Yeah. You had Crystal and Molly. You hanging out with Crystal and Molly, that meant you were doing bad things back in the day. I think people caught on to that, though. Anyway, this is also not a podcast about drugs. It's a podcast about comics, because we don't do drugs, but beyond the occasional drinky poo, because we like that. But yeah, this is a show where we get together every Sunday morning and talk about comics. As usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And I'm Craig Lance,
Who-
and I'm
who-
actually
who is
back.
this?
Yeah,
Who is this
I'm
stranger?
here for like 1 out of the past 6 episodes.
Well, look, man, it's good to have you back. We, family business is family business. We're not spilling the beans on here, but, we did let some folks at home listen to know that, they had some family stuff going on and you had to take care of, like the good person you are. So it is good to have you back. And it's good for you to be in a position where you can be back, taking care of stuff and having folks, being healthy and whatnot.
Part of that is because my car broke down this weekend, so I can't drive anywhere.
Oh, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, I had to go to Huntsville in the middle of the night on Wednesday night. And on the way there, my thermostat decided to start sticking.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and so we didn't realize that what was happening until we got to the top of the mountain in Huntsville. And we had no cell phone, no internet service, no nothing, and we're stuck on the side of the road and I'm actually getting water out of the ditch, rainwater, to put in my car to cool it down so that I could get on to where I needed to get.
Fucking old school.
Dude, wow. It was there or, die, because that's what happens in every horror movie, right?
no one wants to end their life in Huntsville. Like, that's just not a place that you want to be.
And I just got to buy they're probably more than $5 now, but buy a thermostat and put it on there.
That sounds like the beginning of a podcast story.
Yeah.
Craig went to go get some puddle water for the hot car and was never seen again.
Well, the funny thing is the first time it overheated.
Have we analyzed the puddle water?
The first time the car overheated, it was just outside of Little Rock, and it was like, okay, so we stopped. It was out of water. I put water in it. I'm like, I haven't checked it in forever. Maybe it's just slow. So we start going again, and it didn't happen again until we were almost, like I said, at the top of it. And we found whatever water we had in the car. We put in there. We started going, and then it did it again like 10 minutes later. And so Stephanie's like, the first time she's like, well, should we get some rainwater and put it there? I'm like, no, absolutely not. We're not putting rainwater in the car.
Craig's bougie ass is over here funneling Fiji water into his radiator while people pass. He's just waving with a.
You have any idea how many horses we'll lose in the power of this car if you put puddle water in it?
I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And then it's like, okay, get the rainwater, get the rain.
Can you spit in it too?
Yeah. I'm totally naming my next punk band Puddle Water.
Yeah, it was. It was a long night.
Well, in the midst of that long night and what was, at least for me, a long week, did you fellows get any comics read while you were out and about doing things?
I did get some read.
Nice.
Yeah.
What'd you read?
I read Daredevil number 35, Marvel Comics.
Nice.
It's Chip Zdarsky and whoever else is on it. Because I don't have my...
Is it still Checchetto?
I'm unprepared. Yeah. It's Mark Machado, Matthew Wilson... Joe Jesco, Clayton Cowles, the usual band of people on it.
Right.
Stefano Landini, Francesco Mobili. They have all kinds of people on this book, apparently. Marcio Minez.
It's a veritable who's who of Marvel talent.
It's like a team, like a creative team.
Yeah, I'm just going to start saying the creative team is on this book. Anyways, this was the end of the lockdown series, and because I'm so far behind on my books, I don't actually know when this issue came out, but this was really a solid issue into the series, which now, all of them have been.
Of course, yeah.
Is Elektra still Daredevil in this?
She is, but it ends with Daredevil getting out of prison to help her. Well, that happened in an issue before, but he got out of prison to help with what was going on and broke out, and they were going to rearrest him, and the rest of the Avengers showed up and said, not today. So,
he's like that.
Yeah. Which led to one of my questions that's in the hat.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah. Star Wars Life Day. Number 1, because it's a one-shot. Marvel Comics. It's got like 20 people on it. I'm not going to read all their names because it is a anthology book, believe it or not.
Oh, I believe it, because you secretly love anthologies.
Yeah.
So the thing about this is it's one story, but it has a bunch of flashbacks in it.
Right.
So because of the way they did it, it doesn't feel like an anthology, but it gives you a bunch of different Life Day stories. And for those that don't know, Life Day is basically Kashyyyk's, which is Chewbacca's homeworld. Mm-hmm. It's their version of Christmas, Thanksgiving combined type thing.
Nice.
Except I don't think they killed any indigenous people to have it. Maybe they did. I don't know.
I think they were the indigenous people.
And then last was Dark Knights of Steel by DC. Again, not really prepared because it's been forever since I did a show. Tom Taylor and Yasmin Putri. Letters by Wes Abbott. So... did either of you guys read this?
I didn't. I've heard good things.
Well, it's Tom Taylor, so of course it's intriguing. But so basically what happens is it starts with Superman's pod landing, but it's not Kal-El that's in the pod. It's his mom and his dad.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And she's pregnant, and she starts giving birth the moment they land on Earth. And the big difference is that it's not modern times.
Yeah.
It's back in medieval times. Mm-hmm. And Batman becomes his protector when they're earlier. Batman and the Robins are the protectors for Kal-El because, you know, he still has vulnerability to magic and so forth, and they live in medieval times, so they need people that can defend them.
Morgan Le Fay's bitch ass going to come in there and wreck shop.
Yeah. But we also find out that Bruce Wayne is the illegitimate son of Jor-El.
Oh.
Because, I didn't care for that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it's a weird twist on it.
Certainly
it's an Elseworlds tale, right?
Well, so what happens is they're fighting, quote-unquote, the Banshee.
Mm-hmm.
The Banshee happens to be Black Canary, but she's not Black Canary. She's the Banshee. It's Dinah. And she screams, and Batman barely feels it. She's like, "How are you not in shambles?" He's like, "Well, my ears are bleeding." Is that
what do you want from me, woman?
So it's intriguing. It's okay as a one-off, its own thing. I'm glad that Bruce Wayne's really not Clark's half brother.
I don't mind stories. I mean, I don't mind stories like that every once in a while. I mean, like Marvel's 1602, that was good. Like, jumping them to a different time frame. It's an Elseworlds tale. Treat it
That's
with
the way
the kid gloves that it should be.
But it's Tom Taylor, so it's fun. So
nice.
Well, for my short stack, I read.
Are you more prepared than I am?
Wouldn't take much.
Damn.
You missed this, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I missed the abuse of the show.
I bet your self-esteem got outrageously high while you were away.
It really was, and then I came back, and you guys put me right back in place.
Don't let this man fool. This man missed you, like, verbosely while you were gone.
Did he cry real tears?
Well, he doesn't necessarily cry, but he, like, his eyeballs perspirate, but he won't admit to crying.
His face sweat.
Yeah, his tear ducts sweat is what happens. Because you don't actually know this. He's doing, like Matt's just constantly sitting here, like, flexing while we record the show, like, different parts of his body, and he has this, like, eyelid exercise that he does. That's what happens.
If you want to know what it looks like, it's Hulk Hogan after he wins a match where he's flexing in the ring.
Oh man, that's rough. So I read, back to business here, from Image Comics, Decorum #8. Anybody still reading Decorum?
I am still reading it.
Off of it
I
a long time
haven't
ago.
read this issue yet, but don't worry. You can. I don't understand it enough to have anything spoiled.
So Words, as it says, is by Jonathan Hickman, and Art is by Mike Huddleston.
Mm-hmm.
This wraps up the first arc. Allegedly, there's a second arc coming. We'll see what that means. This was good. Certainly did not go anywhere near the direction I thought it would when this story began. So interesting.
So this was the one that started with the girl that was like picked up by the assassin or whatever and taken back. Okay.
Yeah. So
I can't believe I remember that much about it.
There was a conquistador robot.
The story
took
took directions that I did not see coming. What's going to be interesting to me is where's Arc 2 going to come from because of this Substack thing that's going on. So is he going to do it with Image? Is it going to be on Substack?
I think most of them have been saying that if they had something started, they were going to finish it where they started it.
Well, what does that mean, though? An arc, or does that mean the entire book? That's what I mean.
I mean, possibly, I guess.
So we have to wait and see.
I don't think Substack's going to live long enough to make much of a difference. So,
number 2 on my short stack is the final issue, which is book 6 in Batman Reptilian by Garth Ennis and Liam Sharp, of course, by DC. This is Black Label. Thus ends the weirdest Batman story in recent history.
Really?
This was some epically weird shit, brother. Again, I'll say it. This felt straight out of early 2000 AD, the British publication, which did a lot of weird stuff straight out of that.
Yep.
So if you're looking for something hella weird, dig it.
nice.
Number 3 on my short stack is...
See, he even sounds like Hulk Hogan.
No, that's Macho Man Randy
and-
Savage.
Oh,
God
okay.
damn it. How dare you mix up those two.
Calling you brother and...
I can't fucking breathe.
We broke Caleb.
I missed you fuckers.
Image Comics, Moonshine number 28 from Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Risso. Okay, I think I got it right this time.
Okay.
This is the final issue of the story.
Okay.
It actually says Finis in the back. So think that means this is the wrap up. Like a lot of things wrapped up in this final issue. It feels like a final issue. Certain people met certain ends.
Yeah.
And then it said finis in the back. So I'm like, okay, this is it. This is it. This is the ending.
They're going to come back 6 months from now and give us a new arc.
I was going to say, they're going to give you a one-shot.
That's what happened to me is I thought it was over and was cleaning out my list of books I was on. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that story's over. Take me off of it. And then it started coming again.
Felt like it ended. Excuse me. It felt like it ended several times. So I don't know. It's a great story, great art, of course. I'm anxious to see what Azzarello does next, as well as Risso, maybe even more so, because Azzarello's had things going on.
I really
ever
enjoy
since.
Both of them, whatever they're on. I tend to enjoy.
But I love it when they're together more than anything.
I want to see what Eduardo Risso is going to do next, more so, just because he hasn't done anything but this in so long.
Yeah, I really hope they give this the big hardcover treatment, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will, but I haven't read this yet. It was one of those things like I missed the boat at the beginning of it, and listening to both of you gush about it, I really want to read it. But it's Azzarello and Risso, so like I want it on my shelf. I'm really hoping we get it.
The covers of this have been outstanding.
Yeah,
just really cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, the interiors, from what I remember, were pretty.
Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah, it's great all around, no doubt about it.
Are you reading World of Darkness? So. Your love of werewolves, I know you're not super huge on vampires, but the current World of Darkness arc from Vault, it's focusing on the werewolves.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
You might check that out. I think you would.
Well, there's a new book out too, like Crimson something from Vault, and it's it's a vampire versus werewolf story.
Is it Crimson Tide?
No.
Okay.
No,
it's not Crimson Tide. I don't know what it is, but it's not Crimson Tide.
Is it Crimson Dawn? Let me just roll down my Crimsons.
Yeah, no, it was like something. It's something Crimson, not Crimson something.
Dude, Vault's killing it. I love what they're doing. So
hey, stick around for more books I don't know the title of or the creators of. I can help you out.
on my little short stack, I'm going to start over at the Distinguished Competition, DC Comics. Issue 5 of 8 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, written by Mr. Tom King, art by the wonderful Bilquis Everly, with Matthias Lopes on the colors and Clayton Cowles on the letters. I love this book.
S?
Do what now?
His in Lopes, does it end in an S?
Yes, Lopes. Yeah. I love it. I think this is a great book. So essentially, and I think I've said this before, this is, if you boil it down and you distill it to its like pure essence, it's essentially True Grit told in a Supergirl story.
Is this the one where he sent her off into space to go take care of something? Clark did.
No, she needs a vacation, so she launches herself into space.
Okay, she left.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
She ends up on this planet. She meets this young girl. This young girl is chasing down an assassin, a mercenary who killed her dad. Like I said, it's True Grit told through a Supergirl story at a baseline.
Well, the other day we were talking, and you were talking about that you're reading more DC now than So I went and looked at home, and all I'm reading is Batman, Detective, and Nightwing. Dude, that's all I'm reading right now from DC.
DC's killing it. But yeah, in this particular issue of Supergirl, they're on this planet that we've seen Superman on before. He was only on it for like 45 minutes because the sun is actually a green sun made of kryptonite. And 45 minutes was a living hell for him. But Supergirl lasts about 12 hours because she's a badass and she's stranded on this planet, and they fight dinosaurs, and
she
it's
lived
fucking
on
awesome.
Krypton longer.
They fight dinosaurs, Craig. They fight fucking dinosaurs. That's all you need to know. It's
the actual dinosaurs?
Dude, they are nasty dinosauric type.
Well, now they're dinosauric.
I mean, they're dinosaurs. I mean, like, I don't know how they're giant lizard with teeth things. It's Bilquis Everly's art through this entire
they're not
series
dinosaurs if they're giant lizards.
They're giant bird lizards, Craig. Shut
up. Bird lizards.
Second on the list from
dinosauric.
They are dinosaur-like.
Or ick.
They're dinosaurish.
Ish? I like that. We'll go with dinosaurish.
The artwork in that is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, dude. And look, even if you're not a fan of Tom King, like Bilquis Everly's art in this is reason enough to pick this book up. It's stunning. Absolutely stunning. And look, I like Westerns. I'm a fan of True Grit. This is obviously filtered through the sci-fi lens and the superhero lens because it's Supergirl, but it's fucking True Grit.
Instead of getting bit by a snake, she gets bit by a dinosaur and
Oh,
loses her arm.
she avoids getting bit by dinosaurs. Great.
The dinosaur's got to bite off her arm, or else it's not true grit.
Hey, still got 3 issues to go, bro. So from a publisher we don't talk about very often, but a series that I've mentioned a few times on this show, over from Devil's Due Comics, issue 5 of Squarrier's Summer came out. Now, like I've spoken about this series before. I don't know what's up and what's happening with it. An issue comes out like every 7 months.
That's why I quit reading it, because
it's taken them like 5 years to tell a 5-issue arc so far. I have no idea, but
I love the first issue, but I never did get the second. So.
I love all of Squarriors because I mean you can get other trade paperbacks where like they have Squarrior Spring, like they go through the seasons. It's anthropomorphic little woodland critters. It's mice and it's cats and it's flying squirrels and
they're
everything.
In full plate mail.
Yeah, they're like they're not only in full plate mail, like they've got this armor. Some of them are assassins, like, but they wield things from the real world. Like there's this one squirrel who's like quote unquote battle axe is just an X-Acto knife, and it just launches it into the neck of this poor, like not poor, an asshole creature. But so again, I'm a big fan of Brian Jacques' Redwall series from when I was a kid, and it's medieval tales told through mice and hedgehogs and whatnot.
In squirrels.
Squirrels. It's phenomenal.
Thank you for the addition, Craig.
all manner sorts of rodents, and it's by Ashley Witter and Ash Mackzo.
That's what I'm here for. The color commentary.
Don't forget the squirrels.
And the meek shall inherit.
I mean,
the earth.
You hate squirrels.
Their name is on the front.
They are the
Squarriors.
They are the Squarriors. So yeah, if you like anthropomorphic stories, if you just it's a war story, it's tribal, it's super fun. The next issue might come out in 2023. We don't know. I'm looking forward to it though. The art in this is gorgeous. It is painted. It looks. It is stunning. So
they like to keep you in anticipation.
Just hold that, Frankenfurter.
Patient.
Last but not least on my short stack comes from also a DC book. Comes from the House of the Black Label. It is the Nice House on the Lake, Book 6, by our good friend James Tynan IV, Alvaro Martinez Bueno, and Georgie Belair.
Good friend. I really like James Tynan.
We should befriend him. We really should.
Feels a little creepy all of a sudden.
I feel like he's too high end for us now though. Like. He's on that next level.
Why aren't we friends, James?
Jimmy?
Why haven't you invited us over, James?
Having a friend for dinner. So if you've been keeping up with this story, you know that this group of friends has been, or I say that loosely, this group of people have been sequestered on a island or some sorts in this house by a former quote-unquote friend of theirs who's always been this weird dude. They, in this issue, get a little bit of a flashback and you realize that this kind of central figure is something akin to an alien, but really we don't, like the English language doesn't, or the worldly languages don't really have the vernacular to say what he really is. He has been sent here to prepare the planet for annihilation, for destruction, and he's been tasked by his overlords to like find the best of humanity and save them for some reason or the other, and he's actually told most of them throughout their lives on this, but he can make them forget because he has some sort of mental powers. It's super fun. This whole thing it's gone places. Again, I didn't expect it to go when the series started. It's weird. You don't know who to trust. People are starting to get isolated. People are starting to get claustrophobic. The story is really getting heavy. So it's some of Tynan's best work, in my opinion. I thoroughly enjoyed this book.
I love his. Still on it. I mean, I love his Batman run, but his independent stuff's always really good.
This is great stuff. And I could it's one of those things. I don't think just because a book is good, just because a comic's good, it should be like made into a movie or anything like that. I could very easily see this get made into a mini series, like one of those HBO like 8-issue, 9-issue or 9-episode shows, and that would be really cool. I could see that very much happening here. And in my brain, I just kind of cast people in those roles because it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. So. Didn't talk about this before, but Craig, you had a busy week. My week was spent just studying and getting ready for finals. Matt, did you have a decent week?
Yeah, I had a decent week. Also, had a week of challenges.
Yeah.
Like when it rains, it pours. Furnace goes out.
Well, you've got to have the
kitchen
rain.
sink backs up. It's
Good times.
like everything kind of has, it's all happening at once.
Good times.
If it didn't have rain, we wouldn't have the puddle water.
That's true. That's true, and that's how we fuel our cars now.
Yeah. Did everybody have a somewhat decent turkey day?
Oh yeah, it was great.
We should acknowledge that a nice holiday. I got together with Raj's family. We ate. There was merriment. It was fun times. And on the way down there, because his family lives like 2 hours away, I got to read a comic.
I can't read in the car.
Oh, I can.
Yeah. I'm always driving, so I'm always the one driving.
Same.
So
Matt's just got he's got Dune sitting on top of a steering wheel. Can't see past it, but it
if you think I need to read Dune and I don't know the words already, how dare you?
He's read it so many times now he just listens to it on Audible.
Now I just say it out loud as I'm driving.
After the apocalypse, Matt's going to get found wandering the wilderness. He's going to be the last person who can repeat it as a scribe writes it for the
Greetings,
next generation.
friends. Have you heard the news?
The good news.
Yeah, so got a few comics read in the midst of that, one of which is the book that we decided to do as our roundtable. And super excited to hear what you guys think about this book. Now, before we jump into it, as always, we're going to talk about this thing, which means spoilers, as it were, because that's how you have to do it to really talk about something in depth. So if you haven't read Hulk #1, that recently just came out by Mr. Donny Cates, Ryan Otley, and Frank Martin, don't have it open. Need to see who does the letters on this book. But anyway, hit the pause button. Go read that book. We don't want to ruin it for you. So go check that out and let us come back and join in and hear what we think. And then you can always go to our Facebook page or our Instagram or Twitter pages, which are at SFG Podcast, and tell us what you think. We would love to hear it. Also on the letters on this is Corey Pettit, because of course it is, because he's one of 3 letterers who exist in the world, and they just continue to do all the letters. So 30,000 foot view on Hulk #1. What did you guys think about this book?
I loved it.
Loved it?
I enjoyed it. I will definitely stick on it to see where it goes. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I loved it at this point, but yeah.
I kind of same boat with Craig. I thought it was interesting. There are things I'm curious about. Things. It's a giant transition from the Hulk that we just got, obviously, and we kind of expected that. But it's going to take a minute for my brain to get out of how I condition my brain to read Immortal Hulk to reading this Hulk story. But nothing. I have no objectively negative things to say about it, if that makes sense. So like I said, Immortal Hulk just ended, and we're starting a brand new arc, and we've got the on paper an incredible creative team. Donny Cates and Ryan Otley doing the big doings with Frank Martin adding the colors and Corey Pettit doing the letters on this. And it's I don't know if it's fair to say it's a fresh start, but it's definitely it's a jumping on point. It's something, like I said, that we are going. We're shifting tones, we're shifting gears, and heading to a different place. And the story opens with the Hulk just beating the shit out of this giant door. And we don't really know what's happening. We don't necessarily know what the story is or where it's coming from, but there's a monologue, as there is, with a lot of things, throughout Hulk history, because it's Banner reading throughout his brain or talking to himself. Most of the time. In this case, it's somebody telling a theory about the Hulk. How for a long time the working theory has been that the Hulk is there, or Banner is there to protect us from the Hulk, because you never know which version of the Hulk you're going to get. But what if dun dun dun? What if it's actually the Hulk who's here to protect us from Banner, from the mad scientist, as it were? From there, you come to figure out that a lot of what you're seeing in the story is actually taking place in some sense in Banner's head. He spends some time talking to Betty, who's not really there. He's going through his entire system, and he's essentially sitting in what is, by all appearances, a spaceship engine room. Everything's clad in red. It looks very much like the bridge of the Enterprise, told through a more Marvel lens or something like that, as he's talking about these things. But you really don't know where he's at and what he's doing. The story then jumps over to some of the biggest Marvel heroes that we know. You've got Spider-Man, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four. They're all huddled, kind of in a room talking about what's going on, and Doctor Strange is essentially giving them the rundown of what's been going on. And the first issue is very simple. It's a very fast-paced story. What has happened is that Banner has essentially turned the Hulk, as it were, into a sort of spaceship, and that's why you see him sitting in this chair. He is trying to take the Hulk off the board, so to speak, to move him to a place where the Hulk can't bother people and the Hulk can't be bothered by people. And as you might imagine, there's going to be some violence that is put in his path to prevent him from the ultimate goal. And look, part of that violence is Tony Stark being Tony Stark, thinking that he can stand in anybody's way and do anything. And Tony has got the Hulkbusters out to prevent him from getting to his goal. Well, what is his goal, and where's he going, and how's he going to manage to take himself off the board? Well, if you go back to the King in Black, which I knew that it was going to find a way to work itself into this book somehow. You know that Tony invented a giant. It's not really a ship.
It's like a Hulkbuster to fight Celestials.
Well, I was going to say it's like a giant Celestial version, and it's got a portal in its chest, and it's this super powered thing, and the Hulk is going to use that to open up a gate, and to again pull himself. It's called Project Arc, and to put himself off the board, away from these people where they can't keep him from doing whatever it is he wants to do. And in a very satisfying series of pages, the Hulk beats the shit out of the Hulkbusters, and he just wrecks Tony. And then he wrecks him
Very
again.
satisfying.
It was an enormously satisfying series of pages. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And he is able to take control and take over. And in these final pages, you just get this look of a really insane Banner, insane looking Banner. We don't know if he is or not, but he's got the crazy eyes.
I would say he looks less insane and more enraged. He doesn't look, he looks angry, driven, but not crazy.
And so he is able to steal Tony's toys, and he takes off into, I don't know if he's taking off into space, if he's dimension hopping. I feel like it's probably more dimension hopping than anything else, but he's going away to do whatever the hell he wants.
This likely means there's a very large event coming to Marvel.
Was exactly what I thought.
That they want the Hulk off the table for.
We've seen this happen before when we got Planet Hulk and World War Hulk, the Greg Pak series, where they taken Hulk on little adventures away from the main continual Marvel universe. Be that the 616.
Did you say continual?
Continuital. Not that that's not in continuity, but just away from the main thread of what's happening. Because I had that same feeling. I was like, okay, what's coming up? What's happening?
Noodle, isn't that one of those shitty breakfasts they give you at like Holiday Inn?
There's like a rotten orange and like a half a bagel that's been chewed on. I should say that part of this quote unquote Hulk as a spaceship thing is it, and we saw this with the new comic book day or the free comic book day intro that you saw. Hulk has got this very Weapon X-like suit on with the visor and tying into like little gadget and stuff, and essentially it's letting Banner control the Hulk as he's like a little robot, like he's a Hulk suit, but it keeps Banner in control. And inside this, the Hulk is like when Banner needs the Hulk to fight, like these Hulkbusters and everything. What the Hulk is seeing is literally infinite armies that he is able to smash, which is really cool concept. It's basically VR, right? It's using VR to control the Hulk.
For Pacific Rim fans, it's a living Jaeger.
Yeah, that is the Hulk. It's badass. So yeah, that's where we're at. It was a fun intro. Again, I'm kind of with Craig on this. I'm curious what's about to happen because, that's my knee-jerk reaction is that there's going to be something big happen on Earth. And they're taking Hulk off the board. We've seen that a couple of times. But
I trust Donny Cates as a writer. I haven't been reading the stuff he's been writing too much in Marvel because, quite honestly, the stuff he's writing just doesn't hold an interest to me.
I thought you were loving Thor.
Oh, Thor I am reading, but I meant like his
Venom stuff.
And stuff like that. Yeah, but I am Thor I do love. Ryan Otley, I was a little iffy on his art coming into this book because the last thing he worked on was Spider-Man, and it looked a little too much like what he did Invincible for me. But I will say that his art in this book is what I kind of expected when I heard he was going to be on Spider-Man. I'm excited for what he's doing art-wise in this. The facial expressions, especially on the Hulk in some of the scenes, is just absolutely, you can see the emotions just in the Hulk's eyes on some of the pages. And I thought he did a wonderful job with some of that.
Cool.
And there's that one spread where he's just like, I don't know, 80 stories tall.
Yeah.
Because now that Bruce can control how angry the Hulk is, he can control his size.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that you love it. This isn't really a hot take because I've said it before. It's like I respect Otley's work. I respect his craft. I respect the talent that goes into it. It's just not for me.
To be clear, I didn't say I loved it. I said I liked it better.
Okay, well, I love that you liked it. Like, I appreciate when people can enjoy things that I really don't, and it's just not. Ryan Otley's art is not for me, and that's fine. That's like, again, I don't say that in any type of diminishing thing. It is what it is, and it's spectacular, and a lot of people love it. But it's just like you can walk into any art museum and there are paintings that are world famous on the wall, and one person loves it and one person thinks it's trash. I don't think it's trash by any means. I'm not saying that. It's just I don't.
I thought that's what he said.
I don't dig it. It's just not.
So I preferred Otley stuff like when he did Invincible because it was his own style. It was his own thing.
Yeah.
When it came to Spider-Man, things looked a little too much like the Invincible characters for me. This, I feel like he's kind of adapting more to the Marvel style.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't Joe Bennett drawing the Hulk anymore. You're not going to see that grotesque-looking Hulk in here. And at least I didn't feel like it.
No.
Based off of what we saw. So we might later. But what I did see, I like I said, the emotion in his eyes and things like that, I thought he did a fantastic job doing that sort of thing.
Nice,
so.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's what I expected, so it wasn't anything like that. I did kind of expect them to at least acknowledge the Immortal Hulk. Like, I realized that barely.
Well, I didn't expect them to really touch on that at all. It's a brand new story.
Yeah.
I mean, let it go. Let it go. That's what I didn't expect to read anything about Immortal Hulk in this book. I expected this team to make their own story, and that was what I went in.
Yeah.
And they acknowledged it enough to let you know that it was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because he's like, that one line where when he's talking to Betty in his brain, he says, well, the thing is Hulk's immortal, but I'm not.
Right. And you were there. And so, yeah, they did they nodded to it. I don't know. Like you said, I can see both sides. I maybe thought that they would acknowledge like I said, it's, Hulk literally just had a conversation with the one above all. Like, so I don't really know what I expected. And my expectations shouldn't lay the foundation or the groundwork. It just took me off kilter a little bit that they...
Well, I think the thing that you have to remember is that the Hulk's not controlling the Hulk right now.
That's true.
So when you're reading this is Bruce controlling the Hulk.
Yeah. And
so all of the things that happen to the Hulk... Yes, Bruce, it's the dual personality thing. So
well, and Bruce may not remember it anyway, because that was part of that kind of final page of Immortal Hulk, is that Bruce doesn't know. So I don't know. Like I said, and to Matt's point, Immortal Hulk is such an iconic run. Even now, it's kind of like being a legend in its own time. That I can see a new creative team wanting to kind of distance
stay away from it,
that.
Do your own thing.
Yeah,
you're not going to likely match it.
Yeah.
Just so do your thing, do the story, tell the story you want to tell, and I feel like that's what they're going to do. And I knew with it being Donny Cates, they were going to take Hulk off world for a while, regardless. So,
I rolled my eyes a little bit at the Null reference because, of course, they're going to throw that in there. But it's like you said, it's a Donny Cates book. What cover did you guys get?
I just got the standard.
Standard.
I got the Bilquis Everly, or not the Bilquis Everly. I got the Peach Momoko cover. Really cutesy little.
There is a big difference between those two.
That's an interesting mix-up.
Yeah, well, it's because I was talking about Bilquis on Supergirl. Yeah, I got the Peach Momoko cover. It's got this really cutesy, almost Scotty Young-esque looking Hulk reaching up and grabbing stars and like putting him in a little girl's bowl like she's trick-or-treating. It's very sweet.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Weird.
It's very, almost has like a Fred Hembeck kind of look to it. Too. I don't know. I thought it was really cute. So I was like, let me grab this. I had a real hard time not getting the Simone Bianchi cover, but that was made easier by the fact that it had a $25 price tag on it.
Oh, that would
That would have made it a lot easier.
It's like, I'm not, maybe not today. It's gorgeous though. There were some really, really cool variant covers, and I'm not necessarily a variant cover guy, but when it's the Hulk, I'm gonna look at them. So you had, like I said, you had Simone Bianchi who did one. You had Art Adams did one. Brett Beating and Alex Sinclair did one. Herb Trimp, they had a Herb Trimp drawing, and we actually have one on the shelf at our LCS. That was one of the Herb Trimp ones. I think it's either Herb Trimp or I couldn't place it if it wasn't Herb Trimp.
I'm sure it's the Herb Trimp.
It was near and dear to my heart, especially in Hulk history. So. Assuming you guys are staying on it.
Absolutely.
From what it sounds.
I'm staying on it. Like I said, I want to see where it goes, and I trust Donny Cates enough as a writer to stick on it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Tom Taylor book. When you trust a writer enough, you'll stick with it a little bit longer anyways. So, I'm on it.
It's Hulk. For me, so I've read a whole lot of bad Hulk runs because it's the Hulk. So
plenty of those.
I'm gonna be I'm always gonna get the Hulk. It's one of those books that's always gonna be on my list, just because it's my character. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get it. I'm curious to see what's on the other side of the portal. I want to know where they're at, and I really want to know what the Avengers think they're going to do, because they've already got their ass handed to them once or twice by the Hulk. So do
you guys see a depowering coming for the Hulk, like a powering down somewhat? Because at this point there's nothing that can stop him.
I don't think it'll, by the setup of this story, I don't think it'll be a depowering. I think it'll be I don't think it'll be a depowering of the Hulk. I think that it will be constraining of Banner, because right now Banner's pulling the marionette strings, as it were,
God, I love that page.
Facilitate. Oh, the double page spread where Hulk is punching the shit out of the Hulkbuster. That is like
all the fight scenes in this I really like.
That's something that Otley does extraordinarily well. Is action scenes.
Yeah,
I will say there at one point when it switched from Bruce Banner and his brain to the first line you get from somebody other than Bruce Banner or somebody not in his head is Spider-Man saying, "I'm really confused," or something of that nature. And I'm like, I relate.
No, it's fun stuff. So yeah, I'm curious to see. I'm curious really to see how long Otley's going to stay on this. I don't know.
Well, the only reason why he left Spider-Man was because of they were putting it out like 3 times a week, so they were alternating artists.
Yeah,
and then they got where they were doing it back to once a month or twice a month or whatever, and he was just the odd man out, I think. But I see him staying on it for the whole run.
Okay,
the Cates run.
I think it'll definitely be on it for the first arc at least. And we'll see where they go from there.
An amazing one too. The one I was talking about, the double page spread where he's 80 stories tall.
This quiet moment, I really liked this quiet moment where the line Bruce says is, "These waves do not crash on me, they break on me." Mm-hmm. I really liked that moment. That was that little insight on this affirmation he's having with himself. Yeah. There's a lot to be read into that page, I feel like.
Yeah, there is. Because, for me, I don't know. For me, it evoked memories of him being the world breaker. Just anytime I see the word break, something breaks on the Hulk, I think of him being the world breaker. And the breaker of chains, So I think that's going to play into it. And there are certain homages to Greg Pak's run on this. So I think you're going to see it grab those and play with them a little bit. So
yeah, I just think there's just times in this book where Otley's work just really, really shines.
Yep, absolutely.
And there's times when it looks like Otley's
Oh, for sure.
standard characters too. But when it shines really, really well.
Oh, like I said, I appreciate the craft completely. I respect it. It's just Otley's just not an artist that sings to my soul, in the way that like Daniel Warren Johnson does, who I think has a somewhat similar style as far as like kinetic energy and the movement and stuff. So I don't know. It's just like I said, it's completely subjective, and I have a lot of respect for him. So, but yeah, I can't go pick up the book.
Yeah,
see what you
I
think.
absolutely support that.
Yep.
Check it
If you're
out.
even peripherally a fan of the Hulk, you should be on this book.
That be's a fact. So it is the end of the month, and as the end of the month, has following our history, we tend to do something a little bit different than what we do the rest of the month as far as like talking about comics and stuff. We try to do what Matt lovingly calls a quote-unquote chaos episode. So in order to try to figure out how to bring the chaos this week,
Matt's going to do the whole thing in Hulk Hogan's voice.
Christ.
we put our little brains together and we said, well, what do we want to talk about this week? What options do we have? And we threw some things around and I was like, well, why don't we just pull some shit out of a hat? And I meant that literally. I was like, why don't we all we'll each come up with 5 questions. We'll put them in a hat. We'll shuffle them up. And then we'll ask each other our 5 questions. We won't share our questions beforehand, and we haven't. Just full disclosure, full off the board. This is like I've seen my questions, but I have no idea what my
This
brethren.
is going to be the most chaotic of all chaos episodes.
So
Embrace.
we're going to
Because in full disclosure, we do generally know what we're going to talk
Yeah.
about ahead of time.
And so, interestingly enough, and I'm curious about this, all the premise is comic-based questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not there was no more guidance than that. And our brains think about things in different ways. So I'm curious to see where your guys' questions went to. So that's what we're going to do for the next little bit, is just going to ask each other questions and shoot the shit, because that's the best part about being a geek, right? Is to have these conversations with your friends. So who wants to do the honors of pulling the first question out of a hat?
Craig will.
Craig will.
Ball and force.
You got voluntold.
Well, I can tell by the shape that I pulled somebody else's. I thought it was mine at first. What genre of comic would you like to see more of?
Ooh. Westerns. Bring it back to old school. I would love westerns. I want to see old school 6-gun slinging, just western style adventures. We just had Pulp by Brubaker, and that was almost a western, tied into more of a crime drama because it's Brubaker, but those books are uniquely American.
Yep.
I think, unless you're Sergio Leone, he did his own things with it. But as we've seen from Western films in the past, you can pull in samurai, like Kurosawa-based stuff. Leone doing the Italian-based take on the Western, but it's still ripe and rich. And I also think we're at a point now in culture where you can tell different kinds of Westerns that feature different stories and different characters and different people. It doesn't all just have to be John Wayne. So, and once upon a time, Westerns were like the hot shit. So yeah, give me that.
Yeah, kind of post Comic Book Authority.
Yeah. When
they came up with you can't have horror or science fiction.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I want more Westerns. I'd love just a Jonah Hex series.
Yeah.
Just a street level Jonah Hex series would be great. Just any given independent run. Brubaker and Phillips doing a Western crime story.
Right. That was going to be my next question.
Why haven't they done this already? Is one of those things that boggles the mind.
Right.
It seems right up their alley. But yeah, that's one genre I would like to see more of, is Westerns. And to be clear, not necessarily those set in the quote Old West. A really great example of like a modern Western is the movie No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. I mean, that's a Western placed in suburban settings.
Well, the book that was on my short stack, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow book, that's a Western.
Yeah.
Like, it has all the hallmarks of a Western.
Yeah.
It's just like it's Supergirl in space, but it absolutely has all those hallmarks. And so yeah, to that end, you can do it anywhere and everywhere, and you can blend genres.
Well, I'll agree with both of you that I actually had a different thing picked out when I read that, and that is like anthology horror series.
Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
Because Craig loves
I know I don't love anthology books, but I love anthology horror series.
More annuals is what Craig is going to say next.
So, but you guys have sold me on the westerns because there just really isn't enough westerns, and the ones I read generally tend to be really good. And I can't think of our friends that wrote There's been 2 issues of it where it's all black and white, and then there's just a little bit of red in it for the blood. And it's a western. We reviewed it on the show, and I can't think. Yeah. Sorry.
I was unprepared. No.
Yeah, same. Again, stay tuned for more books I don't know the titles of. But yeah, so the ones that I do read tend to be really freaking good, and I'm a mark for western movies. And I'll disagree a little bit. Sergio Leone made American westerns. He just filmed them in Italy.
Yeah, the American. Well, I would argue the American western is Sergio Leone. It's like he crafted and.
No, I think before Sergio Leone, the westerns from America were a bit more racist. To be honest with you, I think Sergio Leone removed the racism from the typical racism that you would see in westerns and made it.
Well, when I say that, what I said, like,
he made a more crime.
Well, in present day, when I think about westerns, I tend to think about Sergio. Like, it's the connotation is there. He is part and parcel of me thinking about the western. So, other than just John Wayne and thinking about John Wayne movies and stuff like that. When I think about American style westerns, I have to think about Sergio.
The 2 biggest western stars in America, arguably, were John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. Yeah, I mean there were other ones that were probably as big at their time, but those have been the 2 that have stood the test of time throughout the years, in my opinion. Yeah. So,
what are some of your?
Trying to think of another western star that.
Well, you could go with like.
There are like Jack Palance. Yeah, I mean, and stuff like that.
But they're not at that level.
Yeah, they're not the titans of westerns like Eastwood and John Wayne.
What are some of your favorite westerns?
Just man, right off the top of my head, The Unforgiven.
Yeah,
The Unforgiven.
That movie felt like it. That movie felt like it should have been made 30 to 40 years before it was.
Yeah,
I mean that felt like just a straight up old school western.
It's amazing.
Very simple story, but very compelling. I mean, I absolutely love that movie.
If we're talking newer westerns, I would say like 310 to Yuma, which is a remake of an old western
of 310 to Yuma.
Yeah, of 310 to Yuma. But overall, if somebody asks me that, I'm always going to go to the Man with No Name trilogy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is a little drawn out, long, but the other 2 are so good.
Yeah,
which is for a few dollars more and a fistful of dollars.
Yeah.
They're just absolutely amazing. They're really crime westerns more so than they are. He's the bad guy that rides in and then has to be the good guy.
And see, that's what I think about Tombstone. Tombstone is like a crime story to me. So I would say The Sons of Katie Elder is one of my favorite westerns. I've really enjoyed that. Almost anything with Sam Elliott in it, I'm going to watch just for his mustache alone.
The Searchers is one that gets a lot of love, and I tried to rewatch it recently, and was it rough? But it's listed as one of the best westerns of all time.
Yeah,
but it's
Well, back to the genre question though. This was a kind of hard question to answer, and that speaks to just the breadth and the quality of and the state of comics today, because comics really has resurged, and we're getting a lot of different genres.
And just a reminder, folks, that comics are not a genre.
No, it's medium. Yeah, it even says so on our some of our pages. That's part of the byline. Comics is medium. But yeah, I mean, there's pretty much all genres of comics are being made right now, and they're really good. So. All right, Matt. Hand in the hat, brother. That sounded way more dirty than it was supposed to be. Put your hand in the hat.
All right, let's see. So, what are 3 things on your comic book Christmas list?
This is Caleb because he loves lists. So I know who asked this question. 3 things on my comics Christmas list.
So I'm going to name one I can think of right off the bat. I would love to have Frank Miller's Daredevil run. I would like to have
nice
that collection.
Nice.
I don't have it because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing. This is something that's not made yet, but something I would love to see made. Does that work?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's Chaos episode.
I mean, same.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's it's within the.
You know what? No.
So I want some of Jorge Jimenez's artwork from the Batman run.
I would like
made into statues.
Yeah, I can see. Okay,
like in the last issue, there was we had Queen Poison Ivy through the last few, and then we had the two Ivies kind of reunite in their Ivy and Harley reaffirm their love.
You want in PVC or resin?
I would take PVC just because it's an affordable.
Right.
Because I don't have to have a $200 statue, but I would love to have that Queen Poison Ivy or the return. The way Jimenez draws both Ivy and Harley Quinn are some of the best I've ever seen of those two characters. So I'd love to have them in statue form.
Nice. I would love, and since we're like, I'm trying to think of things that are feasible. It's because I just read part of it. I would love a nice hardcover set of the Meta Barons. Since I started reading that earlier, and again, Dune got me kind of wanting to check that out. But yeah, I would love to have that from the Shelf Porn Factor, because it's pretty. Like the book itself is pretty, and it's fun, and I want to read more of it. You got a number 2 on your list?
Yeah, I would like to have some of the Judge Dredd collections that are divided up per artist. You know what I'm saying? Like the Carlos Isquera collection or the Brian Boland collection. I would like to have some of the less, I guess you would call less celebrated artist collections, like Mike Kennedy, Mike McMahon, those artists. I really like those 2000 AD artists because they're so much different than anything else out there. It just really had a very rough punk rock feel to it that I really like that presentation. So that's something I'd like to have. Again, the price tag has kept me from buying it myself.
As far as omnibuses go, one of the series that I haven't started buying yet that I would like to have, so it could be on my Christmas list, is the X-Men run.
Yeah.
They're just getting ready to restart those. So I'm looking forward to that because
from Hoxpox forward.
No, I'm talking about old school.
Oh, okay, the original.
Yeah,
okay.
They're getting ready to start, and I'm assuming it's going to start with. I hope it starts at the beginning, but usually they started at Giant Size.
Yeah.
I want all of it, but usually they started at Giant Size. So,
as you guys know, I am an OA fiend on a non-OA fiend budget.
Aren't we all?
So, right. I read a book this year, and it's actually a book that I have not spoken on the show about yet, but it's coming. Believe it. I would love to own a page, an original page from Barry Windsor Smith's Monsters.
Yeah, no shit.
I mean, there's lots of Barry Windsor Smith I would love to own, but specifically, I would love to own a page from Monsters. And there are like a handful that I would be happy with any of them. Because it is one of, like I said, I'll speak on it more later. I don't want to, spoil too much, but it is an amazing, amazing book.
Oh wait, so we're at number
one
3.
more.
Christmas, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck too, to be honest with you.
We can just stick with 2 in the spirit of time.
Yeah.
2's fine.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time off the top of my head coming up with a third.
Because I can think of a lot of stuff. I'm trying to be very realistic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'd like a $5,000 piece of Jorge Jimenez collection or whatever.
If Wonder Woman could just come down and hang out with me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Santa. All right. Pulling out of the hat.
I'd like Detective Comics 27.
What era of comics would you like most to relive, and why? Whose question was this? Okay, this is a Matty Matt question.
So, what era of comics would I like to?
So you think
to read? Like,
so? Golden, silver, copper.
Okay.
Yeah, like you know what era?
I would like a less wordy Silver Age. Can I have that? I love Silver Age comics.
Yeah.
But I find myself skipping all of the stuff that's not in a word bubble.
That's funny.
So yeah, Silver Age would probably be my answer on that.
It takes Craig like 3 minutes to read a Claremont book. He's just like, nope, there was only 4 bubbles.
I skip everything that is not a text bubble because the point of the art is to explain what they're explaining in the descriptive bubbles. So
I'll say this, and I'll caveat this with I think the best time for comics is the time that we're living in right now. So this is not old stuff is better kind of thing, but I would say the Bronze Age, especially like Bronze Age Marvel. Like that to me, as I go back and read some of it, it's fun, it's energetic, it's doing really cool stuff. You get some of the exploitation comics from that era or exploitation-esque comics like the Heroes for Hire.
Comic, sure.
There was some really cool kung fu stuff happening there. It was really this, like in real life, New York was this very gritty, dangerous street city, and that filtered into a lot of the comics. And I thought that was really cool from somebody who wasn't there, but just to go back and relive it, you get some of that vibe. So yeah, dude, Bronze Age Marvel for me is super fun. I would love to go back and experience that in real time.
Yeah, same with me. Bronze Age stuff is what I would like to go back and relive. And it's not because, and to be clear, this question is not about when were things better. It's like now at a more mature level, right. What would you like to go back and visit, knowing that you would appreciate it more? And the standout for me is going to be Bronze Age X-Men. Yeah. The context in Bronze Age X-Men as a child, you're not going to pick up on, but you're going to pick up on as a kid. And I'm not talking about the obvious stuff about racism. There's a lot more context to that than just racism.
Wish I'd leave politics out of my X-Men books.
Yeah, so
because that's happened.
Yeah, that I would like to go back and revisit. I've gone back and read a lot of that stuff, and I really it'd been really something to experience at the time. When all that was happening.
I mean, Roy Thomas, if you listen to him, he'll say he wasn't subversive and he took stuff, but you read Roy Thomas's stuff and he was actually really subversive in a lot of his works. As far as getting stuff in there.
Well, I think some of the best social commentary that's made is when it's unintentional. So when you have somebody saying that they didn't intend to be subversive or socially.
Well, Conan's a great example of that. Conan the Barbarian is a very subversive piece of work. Just a lot of people don't realize it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't realize what Howard's intent was. So they just carry the mantle forward. They just pick up where Howard left off and keep writing these stories.
Right.
And they just forget about why he created the character of Conan the Barbarian and what it really meant.
I think I've asked you this before, but I don't remember the answer. Have you read most of the original Conan work?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think a really good example of that is actually not a comic book example. It's a film example, but it's Night of the Living Dead. So we're like we know George A. Like we know Brian Stewart, who's has a long history with George A. Romero. Is considered kind of a pop culture expert on the subject. Gets invited up to do panels and everything like that. But and he'll tell you and we've spoken to the other writer of the Night of the, and those we were not thinking about social impact.
Dwayne Jones was in that because he was the best actor available. It wasn't because he was a black man and they thought they needed a black lead actor in it.
There was no socio-political thought.
And he slapped a white woman because that was what was in the script, not because it was an accident that they casted a black man that just happened to slap a white woman in a
But the result of that, with an almost an entire white zombie quote unquote lynch mob after him. But that's the thing, is intent doesn't necessarily wrangle the impact that art can have. And what you get is a film that is absolutely subversive, that is absolutely impactful, that has this huge cultural connotation to it. And that people have literally written doctoral dissertations on. So it's a perfect example of that.
We ended up from what era of comic books do you want to socially subversive
That's what I like about doing this, though, because it takes you down a little road.
You get to spend the holidays with one comic book family from any comic universe. Who are you breaking bread with?
Oh, God, that's easy.
The Punisher?
X-Men. Breaking bread with the Punisher.
I don't want to break bread with like that. That's going to lead me not to get any of the good food because Emma Frost is going to get in my brain and not let me have any of the good food. She just won't do it.
Food's not why I'm there.
I was going to say, Emma Frost in your brain? You're supposed to be the gay one at the table. She would definitely.
She steps into my brain. She'll step right back out. No, thank
why
you.
She's in my brain.
Gotcha.
I'm the only one that cares about her shoes. What about you, Craig?
For me, it would probably be Wayne Manor, spending it with Bruce and the Robins.
Gonna regret that, brother.
It's very quiet and cold.
He's not going to be there.
Just Alfred sitting there looking sorry with cucumber sandwiches.
In short of that, probably the Parkers.
I can see that.
Aunt May and Peter. I bet they have a lot of great holidays together in their adopted family.
Yeah. I'm going safe and wholesome. I want to hang out with Archie in Riverdale and his family. Yeah. I think it would be fun. It'd be interesting. Or the Peanuts. I consider them a family. Hang out with them for Turkey Day. Or Christmas. It'd be really cool.
It's wholesome.
Yeah. Safe.
Very, very nice.
I don't want people to eat me while I'm trying to eat food. All right, Matt.
I don't think Batman would try to eat me. He would just ignore the fact that I was there.
He wouldn't be there.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Things that want to eat Batman would want to eat you.
All right, let's see. Who is your favorite lower tier C or D list comic book character?
Oh, I can answer this quick. Dennis Duffy, D-Man. I love D-Man. I have no idea why. I have loved him from the very first time I opened up. I think it was like issue 4 or issue 5 of Busiek and Perez's Avengers, and it's all of the Avengers trying to get reassembled, and D-Man's like in the middle of this auditorium. But at the time, D-Man was unsheltered. He was homeless. He was living on the street, and so he stank. And so all of the people just like left a little like smell buffer around him. And I fell in love with that character then. And since then, I pick up anything he's in. He is hilarious to me. Funny. He's also a queer character, so he's bisexual, in canon, which is awesome. And, he's kind of a redheaded bearish dude, so it's fun for me to look at. So, yeah, D-Man.
So I consider Etrigan to be lower tier because he's just not in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So Jason Blood and Etrigan are one of my favorites. I always enjoy when they're in a story. And quite honestly, I was watching the Justice League Dark movies and the Apocalypse one, where he is so upset that Jason Blood's dead that he has even quit rhyming.
Yeah.
All he does is drink and blow fire on people. It's pretty fantastic. So
lower tier. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. This is my question. So it was just really intended to be somebody that's not in comics a whole lot.
Doesn't have their own title.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a large presence.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Killer Croc because
that's fair.
I really like the character Killer Croc because it's so simple. And I was talking to my buddy Mike Nelson the other day. Yeah, because he's not complicated. Yeah. You're not going to tell a big 12-issue arc with Killer Croc.
Right.
And that's what's so compelling about the character to me is he's just a big dumb thug. And he never learns that no matter what he tries to do, Batman's going to beat the hell out of him. He never learns that. Every time Batman shows up, he thinks he's going to outfight him. Right. Killer Croc has no fighting skills. He's just big, dumb, and strong.
Yep.
And hungry.
And I just love the simplicity of that character. All he wants to do is knock over jewelry stores. And, and Batman shows up, beats the hell out of him, and then he never learns his lessons. I just really appreciate that in amongst all the complicated characters in Batman's rogues gallery, and I just wish he was used more. Every time Killer Croc pops up, I'm always interested.
Wasn't it Long Halloween where he was manipulated just by being given food?
I haven't read Long Halloween in a
I feel like that's the
long
one
time.
that they manipulated him.
It's been too long since I've read that. I don't recall that part.
Yeah.
But Long Halloween.
He's just living in the sewer and
I mean, it's basically. I mean, the dude, like you said, his motivations aren't deep. He really does. Like, he's literally reptilian brain.
Yeah.
Like, what are your?
Yeah. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, you're gonna give me food? I'll go kill.
He's
kill.
satisfied with living in the sewer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's satisfied with it.
Yeah.
He just wants to get some food. I just love that.
Money for food.
The simplicity for that.
All right, reaching into the hat for the next question. If you could assign your co-hosts a task to read, watch, or listen to a piece of work, what would it be? Ooh.
Within the comic genre, I assume.
But just within geek culture.
Yeah.
I would recommend Wheel of Time.
Okay.
It's an epic fantasy that gets its roots in the Tolkien universe in a way. It's its own thing, but it's that same epic fantasy type thing. And especially with the television show being out now, I think it's something that a good portion of people aren't going to like it, but the ones that do like it are going to love it.
We have watched the first 2 episodes of the show. We're enjoying it so far. I've never read it, so I don't have that context to go in with it. So I'm just loving it for what I'm seeing. As somebody who's read it, who is also, I'm assuming, watching the show, what do you think about it?
I'm enjoying it. I think it's really good. They've taken some liberties with the characters, but that's okay. It's been it's been long enough since I read it that I don't remember everything about it. Number 2. My understanding is I didn't want like a CW type atmosphere with teenage kids, so they aged them just a little bit so that you can have this stuff happening where it doesn't feel like it's young adult necessarily.
Yeah.
Our buddy Mike, his complaint with it is that the black guy in it accidentally kills his own wife, and the other one's riding along in a cage. I'm like, Mike, Perrin is a hero. Just give it time. Give it time, dude. It's okay. So
yeah, I mean that's I think how many black folks were in Lord of the Rings. That's a problem.
Absolutely zero.
Yeah, that's
epic.
That's what I'm getting at. That is a problem in the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got into that whole conversation too, and I'm like, I
yeah.
can't argue that with you, other than the time frame in which it was made.
Except for orcs, black guy can be an orc. It's a problem throughout history.
Yeah,
throughout fantasy history.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, Matt's the one that took the time to actually go find people of color.
Yeah,
that wrote fantasy so
Jemisin.
that he could have a different viewpoint on it.
Yep. And by the way, I love N.K. Jemisin.
Yeah. Oh man,
I am very aggravated, not at any one, just at conditions, but the collected edition of her Green Lantern story is out. It collects all 12 issues, and I can't get it. I pre-ordered it. The shop just hasn't gotten any copies in.
It's been a hard road lately to get collected editions of current comics.
I don't know what's up, but
whether they're selling out,
able to get it.
Well, whether they're selling out or Amazon's ordering them all or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and I know I can go up the street to Barnes and Noble and find it, but I don't want to do that. If I can get a book through my LCS, I'd rather get it through my LCS. But yeah, so I'm very upset by that. Craig, I can't remember if you've read this or not. I think you have, but if I could get anybody to read a piece of work, it would probably be my favorite thing is Monsters.
I've read it, and everybody should read that
from
book.
cover to cover. That is the book that again, it's probably not the best book to introduce somebody to comics, but if you have read comics and you enjoy sequential art and you enjoy sequential storytelling, that's my favorite graphic novel of all. That's one of my favorite comics of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. And
I do have a follow-up to mine, like a second choice.
And if I could make anybody listen to anything, that would be Mastodon's new album, Hushed and Grim, because I've listened to it about 75 times. It just lives on my phone now. I cannot wait to get it in vinyl, but Adele soaked up all the vinyl, and you can't get vinyl right now. It's dumb. literally Adele sold so many pre-copies of vinyls that almost like she, as a person, impacted the vinyl market. Like there is a shortage because Adele put out an album, and that is insane to me. You can't get vinyl records because Adele.
So,
Alanis Morissette documentary. How's that?
In a perfect world, you would both be reading Frank Herbert's Dune,
Right.
obviously.
This is not a surprise.
However, let me take a step back into something much more manageable. I would say, and this is something very easily that you can do. No excuses is what I'm preempting this with.
Okay.
Get on YouTube, listen to an audio version of H.P. Lovecraft's Call of Cthulhu.
Okay.
Very easy to do.
Okay.
It only takes, I think it's only an hour and a half.
Oh, nice.
Do that.
Okay.
That is his work is such the foundation of so much.
I can find it on TikTok.
I don't know what that is. So what I know is YouTube.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
So I thought of one after it went around after I made my first choice, and that's Mouse. I think that's a book that everybody should read. Whether you're a comic fan, a graphic novel fan.
Or neither.
That's where I was going. Or neither. If you're just a human being living on this earth, you should read that book.
Yeah.
So
Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics is a book that I think all comics fans should read, but especially if you want to be somebody who speaks about comics, or like is just interested in any kind of way. Scott McCloud's his book is a foundational understanding of the book,
giving us some hints that we need to read.
So this is number 3 for Caleb. Instead of pulling a number.
It's your turn to pull a thing out of the hat, isn't it? Or is it Craig's turn?
It doesn't matter.
no turn for you.
It doesn't really matter as long as we have a question.
We all love We all love music. So, what musician band would you like to see a biographic comic done in, and what modern artist would you like to see do it?
This is a me question.
Yeah.
So bands in history. We've had book, like I just got the new Motorhead one. Obviously we've had and spoken about books like Judas Priest as a band. Danzig's got some books out and stuff. But is there a musician in history, a band in history, anything that you would love to see a biographical comic on? And like I said, just pull a name out of that. Like who would be cool? I'll start since it's my question. I've had some time to think about this. Interesting choice for me. It's probably not one people would expect, but it's just because I know the history of some of these characters and just the weirdness of them. But the band Jefferson Airplane, who later became Jefferson Starship, I would love to see a biographical comic about them drawn by somebody like Tradd Moore, who can just really encapsulate the weirdness of that time. For these people who were hanging out in the Haight-Ashbury district, who were doing a lot of acid, like the good acid, not the, like these are the people who just like made it, like this was the shit that would send you on trips and you would never come back.
We're going to condone the good acid.
Disregard that, kids.
I say that in the sense that, and I think they said it best on, it might have been Breaking Bad, but like from the 50s and 60s, that is when you could get like legitimate, again, not condoning things, but you could get quality, I'm using air quotes, acid. You could get quality methamphetamines. All the people who knew how to make it, all the actual chemists and scientists, went to prison or died. And so the stuff that you got after that turns into bathtub meth. It turns into like really weak psychedelic stuff like that, it is watered down. But if you talk to these old, like if you go into a head shop and you talk to dudes who are like in that life in the 60s, they will straight up tell you that the only thing that's gotten better is weed. Weed has gotten more potent, but the shit back in the day was just some primo shit. And so you have these like Jefferson Starship and Jefferson Airplane who are just in that psychedelic world. And they're hanging out with Jimi Hendrix. They're hanging out with the Grateful Dead, and just doing all of this dope and weirdness. And they're thinking about the way that the world could be and the way that the world is not. You give me that by Tradd Moore and I will eat that shit up. Like, that's going to be a cool book.
I had two that popped in my mind. But I'll go with the one that came first. In fairness, Iron Maiden. They had a lot of early struggles, changing lead singers, things like that. There's a lot of history to that band. And I would want Daniel Warren Johnson to drop, because who else are you going to have draw a metal book other than him? It's
Greg Capullo maybe, but no, yes, it should be.
So yeah, it immediately popped into my head, and of course I want some pictures of Eddie drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson. So, every chapter should begin with a new picture of Eddie decaying, just like the album covers did. So yeah, that was immediately the one that popped in my head.
This one's a tough one for me.
I know it would be.
But Daniel Warren Johnson also thought as well. I guess if I have to pick one, I would pick Glenn Danzig, because first of all, I want to see.
Because you're Matt and it's Glenn Danzig.
Well, and to clarify, to expand on that, Glenn Danzig was a unique standout in the punk rock world. What he and his bandmates did was different than anything else. Inspired a ton of other musicians that I love just as much.
Including the future of that band.
Yeah, Metallica's a great example.
I would have bet money that you would have said Metallica.
I almost did, but the reason I picked Danzig is because it's the punk rock scene. Daniel Warren Johnson illustrating punk rock mosh pits, please and thank you. And Danzig rubbed elbows with so many other, like Metallica, and so many other musicians that went on to be, pillars of their own genre. And Danzig was a very, very grassroots independent musician. He didn't have a major label for years, and the major label that he quote had was a startup.
I was going to say
label
that was a lot of punk bands anyways, but
yeah. So that, I think that story would be very compelling, just because he's entrenched in a genre that's so compelling in itself, and the punk rock genre was so, because what thrash metal is a mixture of punk rock and new wave or British heavy metal.
Yep.
That is those two things intersected at thrash.
You took Judas Priest and mixed it with punk.
Yeah, and that's
you
Metallica.
Got thrash metal. That's absolutely
that's
correct.
Metallica. That's Slayer.
You go back and you listen to any old punk band, any of the early punk bands, the Ramones through Black Flag, and then you go back and you listen to Painkillers by Judas Priest. It's you're 1,000% right on. And also, again, you have the turmoil, so you have a compelling story because you have a guy that created a band and then left it, and then that band kept going under new 2 or 3 different.
No,
I think you also have to credit. My brain. Of course, it just shut off. Ozzy and Tommy and
Black Sabbath.
You have to credit Black Sabbath some of that too, because they brought back the Devil's Fifth, like that. Just that weird off kilter sound to it. I think did a lot for 3 chords. You make that third chord a drop chord, and it just sounds mean.
I think what happened there was they were influenced by bands like Judas Priest, but they kind of influenced a lesser. I don't think you got the speed, thrash metal from.
No, that's what I mean by that is all these guys were listening to Black Sabbath, Venom, Judas Priest, and then they just stripped it down like a punk rock band, just stripped it down.
Okay,
and
fair.
And that's where those two, because that's why you listen to Metallica talk about their startup days. All these venues thought they were a punk band.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, y'all are a punk band, because they looked like a punk band. That's for damn sure. They didn't wear the leather. They weren't wearing the makeup. They weren't wearing the pants with the flames on it.
Because they talk about when they started that, they would be a part of a metal show, and their fans would show up and stand with their backs to the stage, flipping off
Motley Crue.
Flipping off the other bands playing because they weren't there to see hair metal.
It's kind of like when Marilyn Manson used to open up for when 9 Inch Nails used to open up for Guns N' Roses. All right, I think we have time for one more, Craig. Why don't you pull one out of the hat?
Let's see what we get here. Well, oh, nope, it's one. The one I referenced earlier.
Nice.
Which comic book hero should be in prison?
All of them?
Oh, man. Obviously, this could be a long list.
Well, what comes off the top of your head? So let me reference where I got this from. The end of that Daredevil book, when the Avengers showed up and they're like, hey, no, he shouldn't be in jail. And the Fantastic Four is there and they're like, no, he shouldn't be in jail. And Ben was the only one with any sort of common sense there that says, hey, guys, this is a slippery slope we're going down by not having him go back to prison.
Yeah.
Everybody else is like, no, absolutely. And Spider-Man's like, no, we aren't letting you take him back to prison. You know, he's saved more people tonight than you have in your entire career as a police officer. So, yeah.
Ooh.
Is there one that stands out in your head? Obviously, don't really count Punisher, is it? Because
he's not a hero.
He's not a hero. So,
oh man,
I mean, you.
Like I said, it's hard not to just say all of them. I mean, all of them are vigilantes. All of them, the majority of them have not been deputized. Or all.
Yeah, but I think you can make an argument that Superman does things a certain way that's never going to put himself in that light. So there's some that are outside of that for sure.
No. It's hard to say any of the DC characters, or at least the big DC characters. I mean, maybe Batman, because he just fucking hurts people. Like, he doesn't murder, but he just hurts.
But he will take you right up to that line. Yeah. He's just not going to cross that line.
But Batman doesn't deserve to be there any more than any one of the X-Men do.
So I'm trying. So
I mean, this list is like I'm
trying to think who creates the most collateral damage. Like the Hulk. I mean, that's my dude. But this idea that the Hulk can level a city and not actually hurt anybody. I mean, we just saw what happened in El Paso. And El Paso was referenced in the Hulk book a lot, the new one. But even before that, this history of the Hulk being able to level entire cities and there not being any collateral damage. No, you're dropping skyscrapers. You're killing hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah. So when you're talking about it, though, you can eliminate some of them.
Yeah.
Peter Parker probably doesn't deserve to be in jail. I mean, they're all vigilantes.
Yeah.
Of a sense, but there's some you can definitely eliminate. Yeah. But if your answer is all,
like you said,
all,
Superman and Wonder Woman, I don't think Green Lantern. I don't know.
I mean, Green Lantern is a cop.
I don't feel like you can eliminate Spider-Man any more than you can Batman. Just because he is less brutal. Yeah. I mean, he's still breaking the law.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's just subduing someone breaking in a building, that's false imprisonment. I mean, there's,
The fact none of them are deputized.
Yeah. So it's,
Well, and there's, it's really interesting from a comic book perspective when we all love superheroes, we all love these characters, but they are vigilantes. Well,
fair. I mean, if your answer is all, then that's a fair answer.
I mean, it's all or none, right? That's I want to go with the Hulk because, like I said, the Hulk, I think out of all of them probably has the most collateral damage.
You can build a prison to hold.
Yeah, good fucking luck. What's yours?
It was Batman. It is probably my most likely. I mean, his awareness of who he is, I mean, he will take him right up to that line of death just because he doesn't cross that line.
But that's what I mean by why is that? That's not any different than Spider-Man. Spider-Man's not killing people.
Spider-Man doesn't beat up average people.
What average people is Batman beating up?
Joker doesn't have any powers.
Joker's not an average person.
Well, I mean,
we're talking about powers,
non-powered people.
Well, but that's the thing is, Spider-Man has subdued muggers in his history, all throughout his history. It's just, he has a rogues gallery that we all think of, but I mean, it's at its core, it's the same thing.
Yeah, when I say collateral damage, right. I'm thinking so Batman movies. This dude has a machine gun on his car, and Batman, and again, I'm just movies. Like the dude runs over 90 people. That's not Batman in the comics, and it shouldn't be, right? That's what I mean. That's the example I mean with collateral damage is. There was Superman and this Superman son of Kal-El story. John Kent is basically going out of his mind for a second because Bendix has like hyper rushed him and he can hear everything and he's just like he's almost like he's on speed. Well, he flies in to like protect this dude from getting hit by a bus, but when he does, he accidentally breaks his arm, right? So like that is saving a good person but doing damage. When we think about people who can fly, there's always the joke, and it's stupid nerd shit, but like Superman can't catch them. If he caught them, they would break their neck. That kind of like hurting innocent people in the process of stopping crime is the type of collateral damage I'm talking about. And yeah, like it's got to be the Hulk for that aspect, because I really don't like what other people. And that was my problem with Superman in the Man of Steel movie. Which I actually enjoyed that movie quite a bit. I know a lot of people hate it, but the one issue that I had was the fact that he stayed in the middle of Metropolis and was fighting Zod.
Well,
and shooting
so the funny
beams.
thing about that is if you watch Superman 2 with Chris Reeves, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
He fights in the middle of Metropolis. Yep. The difference is they actually show Superman in that movie caring enough to go save some people in the middle of the fight. Yeah. If you have that one scene that you had in Superman 2 where he goes and saves the bus in the middle of the fight, where it shows like he actually cares what's happening, that whole argument kind of goes away. But all right, so Matt's answer was all. They should all be in jail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you can separate any of them. I don't see how you can separate one from the other just because more buildings fell down. I don't think that makes sense.
No,
let's deputize them all.
Yeah. Well, they tried.
I mean,
that.
this is kind of the argument of Civil War, right?
Right. Yeah. Elektra should definitely be in jail. She's kind of a master.
She's not a hero.
She's a murderer. Yeah, that's true.
She's currently playing the role of a hero, but she's very stressed out of her mind trying to stay in that role.
Most of the X-Men, because terrorists. I mean, the difference between a freedom fighter and a terrorist is just who wins, and who tells the story. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a really weird and hard question. So I appreciate it though. It's definitely a thought exercise.
Matt didn't think it was a hard question. He thought it was all. So,
yeah,
it's an easy question.
So, better question for Matt is who in that world shouldn't go to jail?
I mean, that's the same question to me. I mean, it's the same answer.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, that's the same question, same answer, just posed a different way.
What's the Inhumans dog? He shouldn't go to jail. Crypto shouldn't go to jail.
I can't think of the Inhumans dog.
The Bat Dog. Yeah, they should. None of the Pet Avengers should go to jail. Howard the Duck should go to jail. Howard the Duck should be in prison forever. They should never let him out. He's definitely a criminal mastermind. So, well, all right. This was fun. We'll try to keep up with these. I can't make any promises because we got some we didn't answer. I think we should do this again. It was cool. I had a good time doing this.
We can add more questions to it.
We need a fishbowl. Yeah, we can keep a superhero fishbowl. But as we close out the show, we're going to do what we normally do. We're going to look forward because, tomorrow.
Why look back?
Yeah, why? You can't do anything. I mean, we got back issues, but there are new books that come out every Tuesday and Wednesday. That as people who try to stay up to date on these things, to the best of our abilities. Spoilers: I'm like 3 weeks behind in my reading, but it is what it is.
That's not a spoiler.
We do try to keep up with stuff. So, what is coming out this next week that you guys think would be worthwhile to pick up?
Do you remember that horror anthology book that I really loved?
Yeah.
Called Hotel by AWA Upshots. Volume 2 of that starting next week. And let's see, it's John Lee's Dalibor Talajic and Lee Luffridge. I really enjoy it. It's very much a Twilight Zone set in one hotel type thing. And that's always kind of fascinating when you have a place that's got some horror attached to it, that when people show up, bad shit happens to them.
Yep.
So I enjoyed that book.
Nice. Matt?
So I'm looking forward to issue number 36 of Marvel's Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky, Manuel Garcia, and Marco Cicchetto. This is the final issue in this run by Zdarsky and this creative team. So I'm anxious to see how this story wraps up.
Well, what was funny is when people were talking about who was going to take over Batman, he's like, "No, I'm writing the red Batman.
The Marvel Batman." Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with a sure thing because why not? And yes, it is also from Marvel, but that is issue 4 of The Trial of Magneto.
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
That is, I love this series. There's never going to be a book that has a Scarlet Witch that I'm not going to at least pick up. Hell, I picked up one of the Darkhold books this past week that has a Scarlet Witch in it just because she was in there. So why not? So I'm definitely going to check that out. So look for it. The entire series has been fun. Find those back issues if you can. It's good for you.
I was surprised yours wasn't Maniac of.
I thought about that one too. Yeah, but
Maniac of New York or whatever it is.
Daredevil wrapping up's the big one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's number 2, volume 2 of that.
Yeah, it's volume 2, the second story or whatever it is.
Talk about an art beast. That book is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, folks, we really hope you have enjoyed hanging out with us. Like I said, we're going to try to keep up with the questions we didn't ask, but maybe you can brainstorm some questions.
We're going to tuck them all into the brim of Caleb's hat, so they'll get nice and sweaty between now.
They'll never see the light of day again. And if you want to throw some questions in the mix with us, literally to toss your own questions in the hat, you can send those questions to us through a number of ways. You can always join our Facebook group where we're talking about what we're doing. We're checking out things that are going on. It's a fun little conversation.
This is kind of a twist on when we used to have the listeners give us questions.
Yeah. We just kept getting the same ones over and over again.
Yeah,
that's why we kind of stopped doing that. But yeah, you can check us out on Facebook. You can send us those questions. Maybe you can slide into our DMs on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. Or just email us a list. You can shoot us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And we would enjoy hearing from you. So we've just wrapped up one holiday. We hope you all had a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate. Even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, we hope you got together with some people that you love and had some fun. Got another holiday coming around the bend. I think that Hanukkah just started, so happy Festival of Lights to all of our Jewish friends. We appreciate you, and thanks for listening. For those of you who are gearing up, getting ready for Christmas, also be careful.
Whatever holiday you happen to
have fun. Man, just find an excuse to get
I
together.
heard somewhere there's like 40 holidays between Thanksgiving and the end of the
It's because it's the
year.
solstice. It's because it's
throughout different
pagan
religions
roots.
or whatever. There's something like 40. So whatever it is you happen to celebrate or not, enjoy yourself.
We are gearing up ourselves, leaning into the spirits of things. So find somebody you like, spend some
literally
time
the spirits.
and going forward, you know what to do. Go forth and love comics.
And keep it continuital.
It's Continental.
Continental.